I believe there are only 2 elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
2?
Tom Brady's not elite.
Look, there's less than a handful, but 2?
2. Yeah.
Who?
Well, let me first tell you how I determine that.
Okay, go ahead.
Very simple recipe. Do I expect you to show up every single Sunday and stand out and be a superstar?
Okay.
And right now, those expectations are for 2 people. Patrick Mahomes.
Which I agree with.
And the other one's playing tonight. Russell Wilson, who gets overlooked so often and so poorly treated as a superstar.
That's right.
Now, listen, Rodgers, if that's what happened last week is going to happen again.
I would still put Rodgers in there. Let's not forget, he's still learning a brand new offense, and he's getting used to, LaFleur's play calling, and it's a different world for him. So
I know.
I just from a respect standpoint,
defense carried him the first 3 weeks.
That's true.
I'm reacting to
that
this
is true,
year.
But you got to, and that's
it's
why.
this year.
And that's
Please
why,
understand when I say that, guys. This year.
Yeah, we're not doing a historical thing because that's
this
impossible.
year. Brady's not elite this year. He's not. Nobody can tell me he's elite. I've watched every game Tom Brady's played this year. He's not elite.
2 games he was, but the last 2 he's been average.
He's a game manager.
And killed me against the spread, throwing an interception for a touchdown against the Jets.
Oh, yeah. Guess what helped out, though? Your boy.
That's right.
Actually, I think I just had the over in that game.
Yeah, I think you did.
I did have the over.
You did. But, yeah, I mean, Rodgers I would put in there just because.
Okay.
I still think he's elite. He can have those days where he's going to eviscerate you. He's just learning.
Like the Eagles game.
Yes, exactly. But he's just learning, I guess, patience with Matt LaFleur's offense. So I hear what you're saying because he hasn't been elite. Mm-hmm. He hasn't thrown a touchdown in the second half.
He's got one. He's got one touchdown in the second half in 4 games.
Right?
Yeah.
But other than that, he's been above average.
212 yards a game. Defense basically driving the machine.
Okay, average then.
Yeah.
but I still believe it's in him.
I do too, but I'm just reacting to what I see.
I don't believe that it's still in Tom Brady.
I agree with you.
I don't believe it's there. And then really when you start, so Big Ben is hurt, so we're not talking about him. Drew Brees is hurt, so we're not talking about him.
Luck retired. He's done.
Luck retired.
Matt Ryan's been terrible.
Horrible this season. And the Falcons have suffered because of it. I mean, they're going to end up getting their coach fired.
Yeah, he might be getting himself fired. I don't think Dan Quinn's doing a really good job.
And then the only one that you would even consider would be Phillip Rivers. But we saw him taking those steps backwards last year.
6 touchdowns, 6 picks in December.
And it's carrying over into this season.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you might be right. There might only be 2. There's one, the one that you put first on this list, Pat Mahomes. I mean, if he's not the MVP favorite again already, if you didn't see this in this game last week where he looked back.
This was great.
At the referee as he was getting ready to take off. Tight game against Detroit. I mean, they needed every bit of effort. Every decision had to be the right one, especially down the stretch. He had, 25 yards he could have taken off for. But instead of taking off right away, he looks back at the referee. Legit looks back at the referee and looking to see if there's a flag. Like, am I wasting my time running downfield?
Yeah.
He sees that there's no flag, and he takes off and goes. Like that above the X's and O's, above the game awareness, you just don't have when you're 25 years old.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that.
I
really don't. And if they did, a camera didn't capture it like that.
Maybe someone had the acumen to do that, but they didn't have the athletic ability to execute it. So
good point.
It's like
good point.
He's such a complete package, and on any given day, he's going to have a day. Last weekend was an anomaly in a sense because he didn't throw a touchdown for the first time in 12 games or something like that, 10 games that he didn't have a touchdown pass. He still threw for 330 yards or whatever it was and orchestrated that last drive in order to get them a win. But every week, Pat Mahomes is giving you the goods. If you're a teammate, a fan, whatever, better, you can count on Pat Mahomes giving it to you. Russell Wilson falls into that category. The extension of this conversation, BT, is who gets into that, who's next into that group.
I mean, who has a chance to crack
who has a chance to crack into the upper echelon of elite quarterbacks in the NFL right now, as we look at it right now?
There's a few, and we'll obviously get into this, and I am curious the reaction, and we certainly want to open this up. That's part of the reason we want to have this conversation. And it's not just, listen, I'll tell you this right off the bat. I'm not going to, while it seems ludicrous to hear somebody say there's only 2 elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
3, according to me.
Yep, I got you. Don't misrepresent our point. It's not a historical overview. It's not about the resume. It's not about Canton in the Hall of Fame. Not about that. Not about career accomplishment. It's about watching the first 25% of this season and really detecting where are the absolute superstar or lead quarterbacks. And our list is very short. And one thing that you know about, now again, we're not always right, clearly, but one thing we don't do on this show, we don't just throw something out to get the phones lit and risk looking dumb. I mean, trust me, we could look dumb on our own without having to try. I mean, sometimes it comes naturally. But something like this is coming from my football heart. I really believe in. I mean, I'm in my basement from the moment I get home from Tops until the last tick of the Sunday night game. It's like my dungeon. I see them all.
But this isn't
not a lot of good quarterbacks.
This isn't even a heart thing, BT. This is a what am I looking at and what am I seeing? Who am I counting on? Like Lamar Jackson, the first 3 weeks of the season. This kid's going to be a superstar. This kid is competing with Pat Mahomes for the MVP this year, and then he has an off day, and
he's going to have another one this Sunday against the Steelers defense.
Exactly,
Watch.
a really good defense. And yeah, we had this conversation about my fantasy team. Am I starting Lamar Jackson against the Steelers, or am I starting Jimmy Garoppolo against the Chargers? Like, what am I doing here? And I'm probably going to go Jimmy Garoppolo because I don't trust. And this is exactly the point. I don't trust that Lamar Jackson is going to have that day. And this is a fantasy thing, but it's a real thing. If I had Pat Mahomes, he's starting every week except for the bye week.
Doesn't matter who he's playing.
Exactly. Yep. Every week but the bye week, he's starting for me. If I have Aaron Rodgers, it's probably not this year, but usually Aaron Rodgers every week but the bye week. Russell Wilson. Yep. Every week but the bye week, because you know he's giving it to you. He's going to do what he can do to put his team in position to win. It doesn't mean they're going to win every game, but he's not showing up.
True. Nor does this mean that we're sentenced to 5, 6, 7 years of inept quarterback play. I would actually submit strongly the other direction, that we are in a very transitional phase where, Deshaun, and we'll have this conversation coming up, Deshaun Watson, I'm sure, is knocking on both of our doors to jump into that next phase. Carson Wentz is knocking on that door. Jared Goff is knocking on that door.
Jared Goff's got to prove a little bit.
Yes, he does. He's got to prove he can fling it 45 or 50 times without a decent run game. And Todd Gurley's not very happy right now.
Throw 3 interceptions and turn the ball over with a sack fumble that cost you the game. Like those things.
Oh, yeah.
When you got to drop back 60 times, which you shouldn't ever have to drop back 60 times, but sometimes it happens. You got to drop back 60 times. You better be able to win the game when you do that.
Yeah, and listen, if you call this up and you start preaching about Tom Brady, I'm going to hang up on you, because that means you didn't watch the Bills game. Because if you watched the Bills game, you would know that the only reason they won the game is because they blocked a punt and they scored a touchdown. Tom Brady was bad. Tom Brady was bad. Tom Brady is, throwing nothing downfield. And this isn't to denigrate Tom Brady. This is just to illuminate and further hammer home the point that right now, just at least in the early part of October, there are very few elite quarterbacks with consistent production. Big Ben's hurt. Drew Brees is hurt. Luck retired. Matt Ryan's been terrible. Phillip Rivers is getting old. Eli's on the bench. Now there's some other guys who vary. It doesn't mean it's not interesting. Kyle Allen, pretty interesting. Gardner Minshew, very interesting. In spurts, Josh Allen, interesting. I can't wait for Sam Darnold to come back and start playing football. Going to be interesting. But I'm going to stand by what I said. Tiki's got 3. And I've got 2 elite quarterbacks right now in the NFL.